morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and The Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to Season 4 and episode number 521 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Crier Media Network. Yeah. Today, recording day is Tuesday, November 26th, 2024, and it is a bit of a wet morning here at the Beaver Lodge. It was slightly more than drizzly about an hour ago. The rain is now pretty much now at a drizzle, but it's, again, that icky, yucky, cold rain that nobody likes. However, at this hour of the day, you know, like this, when the light is hitting the street and the street is all slick and whatnot, and it's quiet, but there's some beauty in that, but, you know, artistically, but it's still wet and blah.
That's out right now.
So you can see on the street a little bit like the reflection of the light and whatnot. I mean, it's pretty, but
yeah.
You know, but I mean, that's literally the silveriest of linings.
Yeah. Although I don't think we got the freezing rain here we were supposed to get, to be honest with you. I haven't been outside. No,
it didn't freeze. No, yeah. I don't think it maybe did not get down to the -1. So at least there's that. All right. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver, hey. And with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. Big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, The Pepper Master, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. Have a interesting show for you today, kits and cubs. But before we do that, Mr. Grizzly, how is your mental health doing today? Yeah.
Not great. Yesterday started off okay, and then I don't know, I got back after walking Lola and got into a funk and couldn't get out of it. I was miserable last night. I was more than miserable. I was just irritated. Like I couldn't talk to anybody. I couldn't be around anybody. It was like, I'm going to sit on the couch. The TV's in the background. I'm not paying attention to it. I can't be amongst human beings right now because I was just in a hateful mood. And I can't tell you why. I wish I knew why. It just happens. That's dealing with depression. Even though the medication does wonders, it still doesn't. It's not a fix. It's
right.
Treatment.
It helps you manage.
Yeah, exactly. So it was not a good day yesterday. So I'm hoping for a better day today because I have a lot to get done. Nothing got done yesterday. I didn't respond to messages. The only person I spoke to yesterday was Bridget. And even then, at one point last night, we were talking, and I'm like, I said, I'm just in a terrible mood right now. I don't feel like talking to anyone. It's got nothing to do with you. I'm just in a foul mood. And I just need to be alone right now. And I feel terrible when it gets that way, but I will intentionally shut myself off from the world when I get like that because I know I can be poisonous, destructive, and harmful, and I don't want to be like that to anybody. So, yeah, I shut myself off last night and had a relatively early evening, but I've been up since 3. So,
Yikes.
yeah. So it's going to be an interesting day.
Yeah. My day was interesting as well. Did the show and again started off well. In fact, yesterday after the show, I went off to because as you can see, my face is a little different today than it was yesterday, and that's because I had an opportunity with our local public access channel here in Kingston. Somebody was doing a show and said, would you come on for a couple of minutes and speak of your podcast?
Oh, cool.
So I did that yesterday. So there'll be a little thing on your Kingston television coming on to talk about that. And and hopefully the clip will, the excerpt will be there, and we'll be able to post it on our YouTube so that our kids and cubs can look at it. But it's, just a basic, quick, community public access interview to let people know that it exists. And it's a friend of mine that I've worked with in theater who is doing the show, and she called and said, "Hey, would you like that?" So, would I? So that happened, and then we went off to curling, and we had a weird match. Things at our curling club is weird. We had a new ice maker come in this year, and he's already leaving, so we're planning another one. Something happened. No, it's nothing club related.
He just
but
made a choice.
Life. Yeah, he had to. It's like, yeah, I'm planning to stay here. Oh, nope, I can't. Sorry. So, but we've also had problems. The humidifier, for some reason, hasn't been working as well as it should. So, we started 3 weeks late, and we had to try to get the ice right. And so, over the last weekend, they reflooded the ice to start well. So the ice is always a little weird after it gets reflooded. So I started the game yesterday magically knowing what the ice was, and I was making everything for the first 4 ends. Like literally, it was like it was on a remote control. Like I was like Brad Gushu level good for 4 ends.
And then
my game went for a walk for a bit. Fortunately, by that time we had a 7-0 lead, so we won the game, and that's our first game for my men's seniors team up a division. So boom, yay, adjusting to a Division C. So so all that went well, and then as you can see, I still have the green screen behind me because my Beaver sweetie decided to spend more time with family, so arrived home late and said, do you want to do it now? I said, no, it's after 9 o'clock. The work day has to be over sometime.
That's right.
Thank you. But hopefully we'll be able to do that today, although he is going into the lab, so that takes priority. And then there's an elephant in the room, so we might as well talk about it.
Bring it up. It's just,
a message appeared on Dean's Twitter feed that it seems that Crier is going to be shutting down next year. I am not going to speculate as to reasons why. We do not know the reasons why.
Well, we all know that Dean's been pulling back from production for a while. So
yeah,
it's, over the last, I'd say 8 months, he's really stepped back and maybe just decided, okay, in light of recent controversial topics, I'm going to step away from this altogether for my mental health. Or I don't know his reasons. I'm speculating, right? But he has been stepping back over the last 8 months. So I guess he just decided, that's it. I'm out.
Yeah. So we haven't had an opportunity to discuss with him yet what that means in terms of transitions and all of that kind of stuff. But we do intend to go on.
Oh yeah.
In whatever form. Maybe talking to other shows on the network who want to continue going, and maybe pulling together somehow in some type of way. Who knows?
Well, this is
Because
the
we're
thing.
good friends with people at the 905er and with the Muse and
Mhm.
um, that nerd dad and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if he's been doing a lot of stuff from going back
He's stepped away from it altogether.
away as well. But there are other shows on the network with whom we have some relationships and friendships that we might want to reach out to, because I mean, our goal was always to be some type of a network at some point. So maybe there's a group of us that want to go together. We haven't talked to anybody about this. This is just me saying this, but we will reach out and see. But we don't know yet what's happening. We don't know, for example, if our Acast account can be just transferred horizontally, put into our hands, and it doesn't change the feeds or anything like that. The reason I'm mentioning that specifically is because there is a kit that put a message in the YouTube chat when I was writing some show descriptions. I saw it asking us, when are we going to post something to Spotify? And it's like, well, so we've been posting to Spotify all along. Well, I went to check, and turns out there are 3 True North Eager Beaver feeds on Spotify. There's one that says Mr. Grizzly's name on the bottom of it. So that's when we first started, before we joined the network. But shows kept on being uploaded there for a while after we joined the network. Then there's the second feed when we joined the network. And then the network moved from Megaphone to Acast at some point this year. And the third feed is the one with Acast. So the most recent feed, if you're looking up on Spotify, the one that's to your extreme left on the screen is the one that's there. So if you've been looking for us, and if you've been listening to us on Spotify and you can't find us yet, I'm not sure how you're going to hear this, but
well, I can.
But we haven't disappeared.
I can give you the Spotify link and the Apple link right here. I'll put them in the chat. So if anyone wants to share them around, just bear with me while I dig them up.
So yes, apparently we have been gone from Spotify since June.
Yes, according to since the switch over, and the other thing is we're no longer charting anywhere because of they're still trying to look for us on the old feed. So that's very frustrating.
So we're working to try to have those other 2 feeds eliminated, so there is just one. So if you are still listening to us and all of a sudden we're not appearing in your feed anymore, just go take a look again at Spotify, because we are still around and we are still doing stuff. But if you were on the old Spotify feed, it just looks like we fell off the earth sometime in late May or early June or something like that. So but no, we are indeed still here. And as Mr. Grizzly said, there are whatever the reasons could be for Dean stepping away, whether or not it's the continuation of a process that started some time ago, or whether or not, because I know from talks with him before when he was tried the latest rebrand, that he wanted to do stuff that was more meaningful. Again, don't know what and it could be that there is a more recent catalyst that led to making the decision.
We don't know.
Like I said, we don't know. But we will try to figure out a way. Of course, that makes it means some changes for us, not only into like where we might appear or all that type of stuff. So there might be some bumpiness between now and January or February.
Really. There shouldn't really be.
There shouldn't, but there
all
might
we have
be.
to do is just set up our own Restream account, and the only we're not our stuff has not been streaming to the Crier Media YouTube feed for some time now. There's a broken link there. The only Crier feed we're on is Twitch, so everything else is just us, which we can go ahead and boom.
Yeah, in that sense, yes. But like I said, we didn't know that our Spotify account, so there could be some bumpiness that we have not expected. But in terms of the production schedule and all that kind of stuff, none of that is going to change. There will still be a daily rendezvous. Our YouTube feed will probably be the most consistent and stable place until all transitions are done. But we will be getting stuff out. Like I said, but this is the first time we're going to be going through something like this, so we can't we can't predict the unknown unknowns, right, as they say. But we will try to do this in a manner that is as seamless for you, our viewers and our listeners. But just wanted you to be alert that there might be times, depending on how things work, where you might have to subscribe to another feed or something in order to stay with us. But we will keep you
that
abreast
shouldn't happen
of
at
that.
all, actually. No, that
It
shouldn't
should.
happen. No, it won't happen. It'll be a seamless transition. The
Okay.
viewers and the listeners won't know it. Let me worry about the tech. You take care of the business end with Dean. I'll take care of the tech end. All you got to do is set up the account, send him some money, and I'll take care of the rest. It's done. It won't affect anybody anywhere at any time. It'll be all seamless. Trust me, I've done this before. I know how it works. We'll be fine.
I do trust you. But again, as I said before, given that we weren't aware that this thing happened with Spotify, if something might happen, kids, please just remain
still
alert.
gonna be here.
But we will communicate it with you. But I'm sure Mr. Grizzly will take care of everything, and it will be as painless as possible and most likely seamless. All right. But I'm bummed. I won't lie.
Well, and me too. I enjoyed working with Dean, and this comment here from Rhiannon, the David Parker thing turned into more than it should. People have a hard time with the concept that talking to another human does not automatically make you a right-wing pundit, and that's true. Oh, you can't platform him. No, we gave him enough rope so he could hang himself. It's like,
I know. There's this weird balance between you got to talk to them sometime.
Look,
at some point, if there's going to be some resolution,
right?
Pardon?
60 Minutes interviewed Saddam Hussein and Idi Amin, and you got to talk to these people at some point in time,
right? It's the mandate and the mission of your show matters.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's not like everybody starts the mandate and the mission. It starts every episode saying, and like I said, please remember the mandate and the mission of our show is, but some people seek more to entertain. Some people seek more to inform. Some people like people that have different views on the world, some that might be controversial and whatnot, even if they don't subscribe to them themselves. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
James is like that. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
James is the last person ideologically as close to Maxime Bernier as Maxime Bernier is, and yet, he can have a conversation with them.
Right.
They don't have to agree at the end of the day. So different people in different shows have different mandates, right? Sometimes your show wants to be a booster for something. Mm-hmm. So you bring only people from that perspective, and that's fine. That's your right. And that's the vibe of your show, and that's the audience. Yes, but there are other types of shows, like things that we do, right? Because we don't seek out to platform controversial people. But I mean, we've had Bert Chen from the Conservative Party.
Yeah, and
like people, and some people were like, why him? And like, that's why you give it a platform to, like, because there are people on other that sit at other, I don't want to say on the other side, that sit on other spots on the spectrum.
Mm-hmm. And Bert's a good guy. We enjoyed talking with him, but
absolutely,
wow, people try and string him out recently. I don't know if you've seen some of the accusations.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, man.
So there seems to be this thing about resolving your differences out in public.
Mm-hmm.
Right now. I'm a little more old school that way. Differences should be resolved behind closed doors, and if that's not possible, with lawyers. But fighting it out in public as a PR guy will always affect the brand.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now, you could be seeking that.
Well,
you could be seeking that.
I think somebody whose work I admire, but I don't necessarily know that she's always.
I don't want to go there.
Well, no. I admire her work, but I don't know that she's always above board. I'm not mentioning any names.
Yeah, I know, but if you decide to take on a public fight, what you are doing, communications-wise, strategy-wise, is you're tying your identity to the other thing, right? And you're the not that. You stand against that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Mothers Against Drug Driving.
Mm-hmm.
They stand against drunk driving.
And
they are clear. Their mission is there. Everything is focused towards that.
The woman who started it, though, left. Do you know why?
Why?
Because it went from against drunk driving to complete abstinence of alcohol altogether. They want alcohol removed from the marketplace. And she was like, hang on a second now. You're taking a choice from people away. I just said, don't drive drunk. Now you're saying, don't drink at all. She's like, that was never the message. So she left the organization.
Right.
Because it became radical for her.
But that's what I mean. So things happen, movements, people join movements, and then some people, as often happens, think that the current ideologue is not ideological enough, and therefore they must be replaced. And then brands go down. Like this, organizations go down. Protecting the mission and the mandate of an organization is something that's very, very, very important. Like this, and it's very easy to get distracted and to be taken off that. So, that's one of the things sometimes when we make a criticism of the NDP, we turn around and say, yeah, we understand that this issue is important. Like this, but is this the first issue of importance when it comes to governing Canada? So it's easy to get sidetracked like this. So remembering your mission before you take public actions, and is this consistent with my mission and mandate? Does this create noise? Does this get in the way of me, or does this help me? Now, sometimes tying your identity to something else, to a cause that you're either for or against, like this, gets you more viewers, more subscribers, more whatever. And sometimes it works against you. Because these are strategic decisions that people make somewhere along the way. Because our goal really is to curate the news and to provide you with our opinion on it, making very clearly when it is that we are talking about the facts, when it is our opinion, and when it is our speculation, because we like to have fun too, right? But making clear what is what. So the facts, you can take to the bank. The analysis, we hope you can take to the bank because it's sound, but there you take the best and leave the rest, right? We're not seeking to convince you.
No.
We're just seeking to give you information. You take what you want. And on the pure speculation, well, hey, if you want to join in the fun, have a couple of giggles and, or thought, maybe this could happen, but don't build your life around that. Don't run with that. Right? That's up there in the clouds.
Report bigger stories, bigger news, things that are of importance to the vast majority of Canadians. Individual spats between individuals, we don't really want to get into because, first off, it doesn't involve us. Number one, and number two, I'm not in grade school anymore. I don't have time for that bullshit. I just don't.
Yeah.
I just don't. There's bigger things at play here. Let's concentrate on the bigger things that are affecting Canadians more directly. Such as somebody like Pierre Poilievre, who wants to get rid of the Housing Creator Fund.
Yeah.
That's a big thing that concerns millions of Canadians.
Yeah. So we want to do this part, curate and bring you news and some analysis. We want to, tell you when stuff is bunk and when stuff like this is actually, they're being honest with you here. Well, we want to show you how the sausage is made with regards to how they're forming a message, why they're doing that, what might be the considerations, what might be the angles, right? Like when we recently talked about François Blanchet, why is he pushing so hard for supply management and the OAS thing? Well, Dairy Farms Quebec and old Quebec separatist voters.
Yeah.
Right? His base. So, there's often angles, right, that you want to look behind and see what's there. So we try to bring you that kind of stuff. And that's the stuff that, as a political junkie for me, that's the stuff that, pardon the expression, makes my nipples hard. So that's what we're here for.
Yes.
right? We're here to bring you that. Other people will do what they will do in the way that they will do, and they will make decisions that they believe in the moment is right for them. And that's for them to defend and all of that. And we're not going to judge. But we do not want our brand identity to be tied to being the anti-someone.
Yeah.
We don't want to be the anti-conservatives. We don't want to be the anti-Poilievre. That's why we may always make a good point of saying that we do need some progressive conservatives, and that there is stuff in the conservative point of view that we do need to hear, right? That's why when we talk about other people, even though there are times we get frustrated like everybody else, and maybe we go a little lower than we probably should, our still basic premise is that there's a lot of people on the other side like this that are either broken or being exploited or whatnot, and at some point they're going to hit a wall and they're going to need people to be there for them, and that's going to be us. And there's a lot of us that are going to be turned right off the idea of doing anything for people like this that have made things way more difficult than it needed to be for so long. But what's the alternative? To keep fighting? Another cut, another slap across the face, and at some point you got to extend the hand.
And that's an open palm, not a fist. Remember that.
At some point you gotta extend the hand. So as far as we're concerned, our goal is to try to remain as sane as possible, and to not get jaded, and to not change our core nature. Try. As I said, I'm hardwired for optimism and positivity. So I'm like, and some days are hard, but I'm trying.
We are,
because there's going to come a day, and it's going to get darker before first, but there's going to come a day where people are going to turn around and go, "Oh my God," and they're going to reach out like this. And I need the energy when that time comes to put my hand up and pull, rather than going, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm tired. I've given enough already." So I need to manage what I've got very carefully, because so that I can be there when that day comes. So, as Mr. Griffith says, I ain't got time.
I don't.
We ain't got time for that. Like this, our mission is completely different. Our mission is democracy, something that you do, and anything that is not that is just noise.
Well, we do cover a lot of general culture, but again, we try and stay out of the noise part of general culture as much as we possibly can. And the general culture we cover is usually something that will affect a lot of lives. So, a Taylor Swift concert, and I mentioned yesterday it's the biggest concert event in history, and Mr. Jim said, what about, Rod Stewart's $4 million on Copacabana Beach? Okay, that was the biggest concert event in history. This is the biggest concert tour in history. 6 sold out shows at the Sky Dome or Rogers Center or whatever the hell it's called this week. What was it? $200 million in economic spin-off. It brought into the city of Toronto more than $200 million.
282 before the concert started.
Right.
Who knows after?
So the money generated from this tour is unlike anything anybody's ever seen. The only other tour, there's only 2 other tours, I think, that one other tour that was as big, and that was the U2 360 tour with the Claw stage. Yeah. And in there, I think there was a Stones tour that was almost as big, but it's this Taylor Swift tour, the Eras tour, is by far the biggest concert event in history. Not single event, touring event in history, and it's not even close. Not even close.
Oh, yeah.
You can compare Lollapalooza in its early days, and they did very well, but not like this. Not like that. You don't do 6 sold out shows in Canada's biggest city. $300 million in economic spin-offs as per yesterday. $300 million just by coming to the city of Toronto. That's a lot of money, man.
Yeah. I think somebody posted the other day, Taylor Swift will generate more revenue for the province of Ontario and city during her concert dates in Toronto than Doug Ford's 100-year luxury spa lease at Ontario Place. That is a fact. but he is for the people. And I'm sitting there and going, suggestion, kill the spa, have Taylor do 6 shows a year in Toronto every 2 to 3 years instead.
Yeah,
we'll all be better off after 100 years. Hopefully Taylor lives that long and has a farewell tour that's even longer than Cher's.
85 years old. You belong with me. He wears short shorts. I don't think that'll work out well. It's like Sebastian Bach, the former lead singer of Skid Row, says, when he left the band, he says, I didn't really want to be singing 18 in Life at 50 years old. I'm like, yeah, I get it. He goes, he said, it sounds ridiculous. And a lot of people picked on him for it. And he goes, no, it's ridiculous. I'm 50 years old. I'm not singing 18 in Life anymore. I don't want to do it. He goes, that was something written a long time ago when I was very young. And it was a good song in its day. And it's still a great song, but I'm not going to sing it now. I'm like, I get that. Pat Benatar refuses to sing Hit Me With Your Best Shot. And people get mad at her for that. And she's like, well, it's my song, and I've chosen not to sing it because it's referencing abuse. She says, but
I'm past it.
I'm past that. I don't want to sing it anymore. And people got mad at her for it. She's like, it's my song. I'm not singing it. To hell with you. If you don't like it, don't come to the show. I'm like, good on you, Pat Benatar. Good on you.
Right. It's like, pardon me, I think you've confused me for a puppet. I don't dance. I'm an artist. I create my show. You come or you don't. See, that's that thing, right? That it's like, but it's your hit. You owe me. I came to hear it. I paid for it. No, you paid to come see the show that I prepared for you.
Yes.
Now, if you want to design a show and pick the song list and have me perform them, you can send me a check for $397,000 to.
Yes, and that's how it works. That is how it works, because a lot of artists will play corporate events and will play exactly what they ask them to because they're paying them for it. There's artists who have Rihanna played for somebody in the Saudis a few years ago, and people called her out for it, and she goes, excuse me, this is my job. This is how I generate revenue. And now Rihanna's a billionaire and has her own makeup company, Fenty Beauty, which is worth, I don't know how many hundreds of millions of dollars. So I think Rihanna's done okay as a business woman. Do we say business person or business woman?
Both.
I think we can say both,
I guess it's
honestly.
a preference.
Well, I'm a businessman because I'm a man. She's a woman, so why not businesswoman? Why business person?
Like I said, for that, that's like actor and actress for me.
Yeah.
I just ask the person, it's like, do you want to be referred to as an actor or an actress?
Well, and in Atlantic Canada, you'll well know this. A lot of women who fish refer to themselves as fishermen, not fisher persons, not fishers, fishermen. And that's called a manhole cover on the street, by the way, I know. And people, that's a person hole cover. No, it's a manhole cover. Most people don't want to go down there.
Yeah.
And most men don't want to go down there either because it's actually dangerous and you can die.
Yep.
You actually have to drop a gauge down there to make sure that there's breathable oxygen.
Yep.
I know, I've taken the courses.
All right.
Anyway.
News.
For you here, real quick.
Pardon?
I have a real quick click.
Okay.
Oh, boy. Real short clip for you from the European Union. And this is something that I think is important, and I thought I would share it before we get started. I just wanted.
And I totally blew the seriousness of the intro. I'm so sorry.
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
The European Union will finance the purchase and delivery of weapons and other equipment to a country that is under attack. This is a watershed moment. At the same time, we're strengthening once more our sanctions against the Kremlin and its collaborator, Lukashenko's regime. First, we are shutting down the EU airspace for Russians. Second, in another unprecedented step, we will ban in the European Union the Kremlin's media machine. The state-owned Russia Today and Sputnik, as well as their subsidiaries, will no longer be able to spread their lies to justify Putin's war and to sow division in our union. And third, we will target the other aggressor of this war, Lukashenko's regime. President Zelensky's leadership and his bravery and the resilience of the Ukrainian people are outstanding and impressive. They are an inspiration for all of us.
So what is happening there is that because of the fact that the European Union understands that the incoming president, who is in Putin's pocket, and we all know this is not a surprise, I'll end that war quickly, yes, because he'll cut off all funding to Russia and all arms supplies, or to Ukraine, sorry, bad. Maybe he'll fund Russia, who knows? Who knows? The European Union said, that's all right, we got it. We're taking over here. Canada will continue to provide funds and armament to Ukraine because they were invaded by a foreign aggressor. And the European Union sees the writing on the wall with what is happening with this incoming president. So I thought it was important to start with that, and we can go from there. While you're doing that, sir, I have to get a cup of coffee.
Absolutely.
I desperately need one because I've been up since 3 actually. I think it's 3. Anyway, somewhere I've been up for a while.
Feeling. Yep.
Yeah. I'll be right back.
All right. So since we're talking about international stuff, I will add on to that there is some big news developments. This is not Ukraine, Russia, but Israel, Gaza, Lebanon, that whole area. But it seems that Israel's ambassador to the United States has said that a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon. Let me try that again. I seem to have caught what Mr. Grizzly had. Israel's ambassador to the U.S. says that there's a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hezbollah and Lebanon, and it might be very, very close, perhaps even before the end of the week. That was the talk over the past few days. A lot of people may have thought that that thing sort of popped up more recently, but actually there's been almost a year of fighting there. The fighting there also started shortly after the October 7th massacre, and it's basically been this parallel war that's been happening ever since. A key sticking point in the negotiations so far has been Israel needing assurances that Hezbollah militants will vacate southern Lebanon in such a way as to ensure that they cannot return. Not sure what has been decided with regard to that. And according to Janice Stein of the Monk School, Iran, it seems, has been pushing Hezbollah behind the scenes to accept the ceasefire. And she says specifically, quote, that's an indication of how the strategic balance has shifted in the region. The Israel military attack in Iran earlier in the year, when they bombed the living daylights of a lot of stuff and sort of overwhelmed them, left Iran, it seems, with no strategic air defense. And it seems that they also took out a nuclear research station in the process. And it seems that this has happened to leave Iran to be extremely vulnerable by air at the moment. And given that Iran's major resupplier for military equipment is Russia, and Russia's kind of busy right now and kind of needs all of its resources, that might be what's behind Iran telling Hezbollah, no, really, you need to accept this deal. Like, really, accept the deal. Yeah. Find a way. So, especially now that you-know-who is going to be taking into the White House, and he has no fondness for Iran in any way, shape, or form. And if he's aware that Iran is vulnerable by air, and I'm sure there'll be somebody there that will be quite happy to remind him. Yeah. It seems that maybe the supreme leader in Iran has realized that the game has changed.
Oh, yes.
Because I do not suspect that Cicciolini will be the type of person that would tell Netanyahu, no, go ahead, please restrain yourself.
Yeah,
you could be wrong. there's a statistical chance it could be wrong, but it's very, very tiny.
Mm.
Yeah. All right, but it seems that it is quite possible that we might even get an announcement today. Last night, over the course of the evening, I heard that Netanyahu's war cabinet will be meeting today, and that there was growing expectation that they will indeed sign off on a deal. And this was as of last night, that there would be an announcement by President Joe Biden and French President Emmanuel Macron that would come within 36 hours. And also, as of this morning, the update was that there are no more serious obstacles left to implement the plan, and Israel's cabinet has been sending signals that it is ready to approve it as well. So, that was about like 12 hours ago last night. So, within the next 24 hours, if all of this proves true, we might be expecting some type of announcement about this. So, it's better ceasefire. Let's cross our fingers and hope it's one step towards better, I guess. Because I'm a bit of a peacenik. I don't like the fighting. So, but that we might be getting some very, very, very big news on that front. Since you mentioned it a little bit yesterday as well, since we talked about Taylor Swift, the protest that everybody wanted the prime minister to leave, to go quell somehow, when this is Canada and we have police services for that. So I'm not quite sure why anybody thought that it would be up to the prime minister to take care of that. But it was taking place not in conjunction with the backdrop of the 70th NATO Parliamentary Assembly. Correct. Which is underway in Montreal. Now, the mayor and the prime minister both condemned the hateful and violent behavior on display during the protests. The prime minister actually opened his remarks at the NATO Parliamentary Assembly by addressing the clashes that had made international headlines. Now, let's be honest here, kids and cubs, the reason for which they made international headlines is because the 70th NATO Parliamentary Assembly is underway in Montreal, because the Stanley Cup riots in 1993 were way, way, way more destructive.
The G20 riots in Toronto.
Well, yeah, and that did make international news, right? But I mean, again, there was violence. People did take things too far. That should indeed be condemned. Anything that was racist and whatnot should be. But also, with the Conservatives going, "Oh my God, Montreal is burning," and it's like,
hyperbole much,
dude. Do you even, when people say, it's like, do you even lift, bro? Do you even watch hockey, bro?
Yeah.
Like, you want to be Prime Minister of Canada? Dude, come on.
Montreal has done more damage after winning a round in the playoffs. First round against Boston a number of years ago, they burned 3 police cars, rioted for winning a round. Settle down.
It's like, or when Rocket Richard got suspended, like for a match or something.
Yes,
people lost their minds.
I mean, like, no, but I'm just speaking of recent memory. That's all.
Yes, but there's not a long-standing tradition.
Yeah,
I mean, we're talking about over 50 years there since the Rocket Richard riot. Like, come on, right? It's like Montreal was not burning; a couple of cars were burning. Okay, let's calm down. But the prime minister, absolutely unacceptable. There's never any room for anti-Semitism, for hatred, for discrimination, for violence. Several groups had gathered at it was an anti-NATO / pro-Palestinian demonstration. I'm not sure if it was an anti-NATO demonstration first, and then somebody came and said, "Hey, there's a demonstration, so let's protest pro," and then other people decided to come and mix with that. But the protest was largely peaceful until some protesters arrived and smashed windows and set cars on fire.
And according to the mayor, these were paid agitators.
Yes, there are 3 people that have been arrested for obstruction. One of the 3 is also accused with having assaulted an officer. Police say they know who is behind the vandalism. Quote, we have had 3, 4, 5 different demonstrations. Honestly, most of them, 95% of them, went really well. In the end, we have a group of organized who wasn't there for the cause, who was just there to destroy. That's what the police said. Mayor Valérie Plante of Montreal said it could have been any other type of protest. They would have been there to do that, to destroy.
Wouldn't matter what it was, yeah.
Yeah.
If they were there, that was going to happen.
Yeah. There was a disturbing incident at a separate pro-Palestinian protest the day before, organized by a different group. And that one made some ears prick up and some hair stand up on some forearms, because there was a woman there who was actually making a Nazi salute and chanting, and I apologize for having to say these words, but quote, the final solution is coming your way.
Yes, and she owns or owned a Second Cup franchise at the Jewish General Hospital.
Which is a license to print money. But yes, at the Jewish General Hospital.
She's since had her
shop
franchise pulled. Second Cup says, no, unacceptable. The franchise is closed right now. We will reopen with a new owner at some point. But they shut it down immediately. Yeah.
A coffee shop in a hospital is a license to print money.
Yes, it is.
Number 1. And number 2, really? You own the franchise at the Jewish General Hospital and you're in a street giving them that? Come.
Yeah.
Again, sir, I'm sorry, but we can't. Even though your book and your manuscript is very interesting, I'm sorry we can't publish it. It just seems too unbelievable.
Well,
and the editors, I'm just.
Like I said, who was it? Who was it? General Norman Schwarzkopf, who said, I think it was him, who said, every village had an idiot, and the internet got them all together. Holy shit!
I literally have in my notes. The Second Cup chain identified her as a franchisee. It has canceled her contract at the Montreal General Hospital. Holy fuck.
A Jewish General Hospital. That's where she works.
Wow. Quote, Second Cup has zero tolerance for hate speech in coordination with the hospital. We shut down the franchisee's cafe and are terminating their franchise agreement. Richard Marceau from the Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs, he's calling for a national forum on combating hate crimes, terrorism, and anti-Semitism. And he basically said, enough with Hitler salutes in our streets and talk about final solution. Enough with the double standards at protests, where having done nothing provocative, Jewish journalists and rabbis are nevertheless ordered by police to leave, while violent protesters are effectively protected by law enforcement. On that one, I'm not sure, but I think that a police technique, when they think things are about to get violent, is to try to get the more reasonable people to leave.
Mm-hmm.
So that the violent people can be surrounded and contained, rather than asking all the violent people to go away so that they can go off and maybe do violence separately on their own and keep all the peaceful people there. So I'm not sure, because I'd have to speak to someone in policing, but I could see where it's not like Jewish people go away from your own protest. It's like, this is about to get ugly, so go away and just leave us with the people that are most likely to become criminal. Might be that, not sure, like this. But of course, when that's happening, they don't have time to stop and explain that to you, right? If that's the case. Now, I don't know if that's the case. If it's not the case, then yeah, why would you be asking the people who are non-disruptive to leave? But if it is actually policing technique to try to maintain a little more common order and try to stop things from spilling over, then I could see that. But I don't know. I don't know at all. I don't know anything about policing. That's just speculation. I can just see strategically why you might want to do it that way instead. Keep the people that might cause you problems all in one contained area, rather than letting them disperse and keeping the people with whom you won't have a problem in a contained area. But like I said, I'd have to speak to someone in law enforcement to know if that's a thing. Now with the Second Cup thing, You had some people trying to stunt all over social media going, well, see, the CEO at Second Cup was doing something. He was able to take decisive action right away. Why didn't the Prime Minister leave the Do we really need to explain that a corporation is not a country?
I think we might have to.
Do we really need to, come on. That's not a serious take. It's just not a serious take. And I don't think we need to explain why. I think our audience is kind of smart enough to
I would hope
figure
so.
that one out.
Good God.
All right. So the NATO stuff was still going on, though. So inside the conference, rather than outside, of the 32 countries that are part of the military alliance, only 8 of them have not already reached the 2% of GDP annually spent on defense things. And while Canada, of course, is one. Canada says that it will be reaching the target by 2032, but they are facing more pressure to spend. There is a gentleman who's named James Risch, who is a Republican senator from Idaho, who was at the Halifax Security Forum. That's basically said, we love Canada. It's our closest ally. It's our border. It's our cousins. It's our friends. But we made the deal. Let's do the deal. Does kind of have a point. We didn't make the deal. And then he said, it's about the 2032 objective. It's got to be better than that. It truly, truly has to be better than that. And it seems that Bill Blair is open to it. He says, I'm going to have to move this here to read my quote, sorry. They want us to go faster, and I'm ready to go faster. They want a commitment from us that we're going to spend what is required, and I agree completely. The parliamentary budget officer says that this would mean $82 billion a year spent on defense by 2032, which is about double the current amount. So if we do that, and we try to wrap it up by 2029, that's a lot of things that's going to displace. We either have to take on a lot more debt, or we have to displace some spending.
Well, and
to double the defense budget.
We have a clip here about this that I think you should see, because this is interesting. This is directly about that. Watch this clip. This is Lisa Raitt pearl clutching.
I know, David, I appreciate where you're coming from in the last segment where you want to pit military spending up against childcare, but come on. I mean, we've got an existential threat happening in the world right now, and if we're going to be telling Canadians that you're going to lose your childcare subsidies if we invest in the military, I actually think that's actually irresponsible and reckless. I don't agree with that framing whatsoever, and I really dislike it when I hear anyone talking about it in that way.
Okay, no, I wasn't trying to pit one against the other. I was just giving a sense of the scale. Everyone talks about how expensive the National Child Care Program. The defense targets in a single year is 4 to 5 times larger than that. So that means choices have to be made, you know, in terms of what you get rid of.
Use Indigenous services then use Indigenous services. That's a better comparator in terms of the size. You went for child care because you want to get it to Canadians that Conservatives are going to cut childcare to bolster the military, and nothing can be.
No, that's not what I was doing, Lisa. I was just using an example of a current new program, a new priority by this government, one they chose to build in and expand in, instead of hitting the 2% targets and saying they've committed this money here with the demand to commit money there. I wasn't trying to draw any kind of a partisan line. I was just trying to say this is a choice this government has made. Do you roll back some of these new programs to hit this because of the economic urgency? It's just, however we do this as a country, Lisa, there's going to be choices that have to be made. I mean, maybe it's Indigenous service. If you have other examples, I mean, feel free to put them on the table. It's just one that I saw and use as a measuring point. So anyway, I wasn't trying to create any kind of a partisan argument. It's just that that's a new program, and that's how much it costs. Okay.
All right. You notice what happened there, right?
Mm-hmm.
PR-wise?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. For those who didn't see it, this guy is putting it out there. There's going to have to be choices made. And the reason why I was mentioning that before you played the clip, Mr. Grizzly, is because that inevitably leads to the question, who do you want making those choices? Justin Trudeau or Pierre Poilievre? So she got her back up right away. Says, you chose childcare with the specific. She doesn't know what's on his mind, but she ascribed to him intent.
Mm-hmm.
Intent that was malicious.
Mm-hmm.
Intent that was partisan. And for the entire time of that, the subject of conversation that was supposed to inform us was hijacked so that he can defend the way that he's doing his job against a malicious accusation that was intentionally and maliciously made by Lisa Raitt, because she knows what she's doing. She knows that she did not know what his intent was, but she stated it as if it was a fact. Rather than saying, are you asking this because? Says, you're doing this because.
Yeah. Immediate
accusation. And then, I don't think Lisa noticed, but she said, I don't like this framing that you are pitting. You're saying that you're pitting us and we're doing this. Why didn't you use the Indigenous file? Instead, it's the same. So it would be okay to do that. Yeah. To pit you against if the frame is not childcare because you know childcare, but Indigenous because we use that one because people don't care about them.
Yeah, that's her take. What a horrible.
There was a big revelation in there.
Yeah, I know.
And that is why, kids, I keep on saying you don't resolve this kind of shit in public. If you have a problem with the journalism behind the scenes, you contact the journalism organization and you ask a couple of questions, or once the segment is over, you go, why did you do that? But you don't use the airtime to do that because it leads you in the defense or to win the moment saying stuff that makes you look a little fucking racist-y.
Well, and the look on David Cochran's face, right? Like, whoa, what? What? Like,
now, conservative voters will watch.
He said, I cited a program. I didn't say that was going to be the one cut. She immediately, anyway, she's a terrible person. Just a terrible person.
I mean, she's been through a lot.
Yeah.
But that isn't, again, like Eddie Murphy said, that's not it. I can't believe you're pitting us against daycare. Why don't you pit us against Indigenous people? Did you just like rewind the tape and watch it? Lisa, you don't look good there.
That ain't it.
And for more than one reason.
Mm-hmm.
In this case. Yeesh. Oh my God. That's terrible. So yeah, it seems that there is some openness to go faster. Now, the Prime Minister, and this is according to Saba Aziz from Global News, says that tried to defend our position as much as possible, of course, said Canada is, quote, on a clear path to hit NATO's defense spending target over the coming years. He said when he addressed the annual NATO Parliamentary Assembly in Montreal on Monday, he said that Canada has so far made sure that its investments in targeted NATO spending, quote, are as concrete as possible, but added that more needs to be done. Quote, we are on a clear path to reach 2% in the coming years because we know the world is changing and Canada, along with our allies, needs to be ready for it. Canada is just one of 8 NATO members not meeting the alliance's benchmark, as I mentioned earlier. Trudeau said Canada added $175 billion in targeted spending. Canada's updated defense policy forecast spending will rise from 1.37% of GDP currently to 1.76% by 2030. And I was listening to Janice Stein again yesterday. She said that if we really wanted to ramp up our spending, it's like one good way to pretty much get to the target as for really quickly are nuclear subs for the Arctic. Nuclear powered subs for the Arctic. That'll pretty much do it. Fortunately, it seems that anything infrastructure that we're going to do in the Arctic area, because, you got to get people living there, right? If you want to defend, if you want to be sovereign and all that kind of stuff. Apparently, all that kind of stuff will also count towards defense, towards the 2% target, however. So it seems that there are some things being negotiated behind the scenes to make the factor in other spending that we're doing and including it as, because, for example, if we're building runways for planes that can land up there, and then there needs to be a whole bunch of other little businesses that come up to be able to support the fact that, you're going to have to be able to repair the planes up there, for example, right? As well. So there's more stuff that will happen. So the stuff that you need in order to build that stuff, apparently, some are saying, might be able to count in the calculation, helping us to get to the number a little more quickly. Quote, one of the challenges we've always had with the 2% is that it doesn't really matter what you spend it on. What matters is that you just reach the limit, and Canada has never felt that way. Quote, we made sure that our investments are as concrete as possible in contributing to the capacity of Canadians to continue to be involved in leading in so many different NATO aspects. Now, while that is true, that is also some very, very, very clever and skillful spin.
I'm going to have to take care of something. I'll be right back.
Okay. Quote, we have to do more, and we are doing more, but particularly stepping up in the Arctic, stepping up in some of the most important challenges we're facing is something that all NATO countries can continue to count on Canada for. Defense Minister Bill Blair reiterated Canada's commitment to meeting NATO's target, saying, quote, the quantum of 2% is settled, quote, but in order for Ottawa to get there, it needs better support from and collaboration with its allies and industry stakeholders. Quote, one of the great challenges that I face is getting the money and spending the money, but the commitment is there, Blair said at the Canadian Global Affairs. Okay. I understand that it's a challenge to get the money in, and it's a bigger challenge to sometimes get the money out the door. But one of the greatest challenges I face is getting the money and spending the money. It's not particularly a good quote. Because if you can't get the money, and whatever money you get, you can't spend. That's not just a challenge. That means nothing's getting spent. So that's a quote that was probably off the cuff and not thought through. Sounds good quickly, but no. He said there is a sense of urgency for Canada to make investments in order for the country to live up to its NATO obligations. Quote, following Cipollini's election win earlier this month, there is increasing pressure on Canada to meet NATO's targets since the Republican president-elect has previously warned that the United States may not defend allies who are not meeting the alliance's agreed on 2% of their GDP on defense. Trevor Neiman, Vice President of Policy and Legal Counsel with the Business Council of Canada, said given Trump's warning, there is, quote, significant risk caused by Canada's misalignment with its closest security and economic partner. Speaking to Mercedes Stephenson from the Halifax International Security Forum in an interview that aired on Sunday, the West Bloc Republican Senator James Risch of Idaho, who we talked about earlier, and Senator Jean Shaheen of New Hampshire downplayed concerns that Trump will penalize Canada on things like trade if it doesn't step up on defense spending. But Risch suggested that Washington was growing impatient with Canada's progress towards meeting NATO's benchmark of spending at least 2% on defense, which Ottawa says it plans to meet 8 years from now. Quote, if Donald Trump was sitting right here, you'd get a big guffaw out of him on 2032 because that's a long way from what we're dealing with in the world right now. That's an eternity down the road for us. This needs to be done now. So there you go with that part. Let's see what else there is in this article here. Neiman said that Canada falling behind in its defense goals also doesn't bode well for its economy. Quote, if Canada doesn't fall suit with its key allies, then we're going to be left behind, he said in an interview with Global News. We're going to be excluded from important geopolitical clubs, and we're also going to miss the opportunity to grow our economy and to create good jobs for Canadian workers. Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland said Canada needs to make sure its higher defense spending supports the Canadian economy. Quote, as we step up our defense spending, we have to be sure that, yes, it is about supporting our military in these times of real global challenge, that it is about being a good ally to our allies around the world, but also that our defense spending is married to our economic policy in a way that countries that have high defense spending already accomplish, Freeland told reporters in Ottawa on Monday. So that's the work we're doing now, and that's something that Canada needs to get serious about. So there you go, kids and cubs. A little update on that. So that's what's going on at the NATO summit there, or the parliamentary event. We're going to be hearing a lot more about this. A lot of the things in the Trump world are connected, right? So we have this pressure for the 2%, and then the other bit of pressure that is being placed upon us is, of course, one of the upcoming president's favorite fetishes, which is tariffs. And yesterday evening came the leak, I guess, or trial balloon or announcement or speculation that Donald Trump has leveled his most severe threat against Canada in years, warning that on his first day in office, he might impose punishing economic sanctions across North America. This is from Alexander Panetta of CBC. The U.S. president-elect threatened Monday evening to slap a 25% tariff on all products entering the country from Canada and Mexico on January 20th, 2025, his inauguration day, unless those countries curb the flow of drugs and migrants across their borders. Yes, because when it comes to Mexico and Canada, we are totally and completely equivalent. Yeah. No. Quote, this tariff will remain in effect until such time as drugs, in particular fentanyl and illegal aliens, stop invasion of our country, ! Trump wrote on the social media platform. Both Mexico and Canada have the absolute right and power to easily solve this long-simmering problem. We hereby demand that they use this power until such time that they do. It is time for them to pay a very big price. So I'm wondering if that means that we get to do the same with guns and with all the migrants we will be getting. Once he starts doing his deportation policy, does that mean we get to slap tariffs on you too?
Well, these tariffs that he's proposing. So all these folks, and so my buddy is in Florida. A buddy of mine spends the winter in Florida, and he just got there a couple days ago. Says he went out to the VFW to have a conversation. So what do you think? Oh, yeah, we voted for Trump because he's going to lower the price of our groceries. You went, what? Oh, yeah, he's going to lower the price of our groceries. I'm like, well, okay, not only can he not do that, and my buddy just said, oh, okay, that's good, and walked away. He's like, oh, my God. He goes, they're so far down the cult rabbit hole, it's ridiculous. Not only can he not do that, because to do that, he'd have to nationalize all the grocers, all the farmers, everything, number one, which he'll never do. But number two, he's putting tariffs on everything, which means all prices across the board in the United States of America on every single thing are about to go way up.
And 25% on everything that comes in from Canada. And Mr. Grizzly, here's quiz time. What is Canada's #1 export to the United States of America?
Oil.
An instant 25% increase on the price of oil on his first day in office. But he's going to make life less expensive for you, eh?
This man is not smart. He's not. He's an idiot.
And of course,
and too many people have let him get away with saying whatever he wants for so long that he believes his own bullshit.
And of course, Doug Ford. Today on Doug Ford's a stupid fathermucker.
Mm-hmm.
You wanted to roll over and cut Mexico out. This is why we don't roll over and cut Mexico out. You want a one-on-one bilateral agreement with a nation that pulls this shit?
Mm-hmm. Well, and here the comment from Mr. Jim, only things that are imported, right? Except Mr. Jim, and I know what you're saying, and technically you are absolutely correct, except it will spill over and affect everything because everybody's prices are going to go up as a direct result of this. I know it's only on imported goods that get the 25% tariff, but there will be companies that will use it to just jack prices because they can.
Yeah. If they see that the market's going to bear it for one, they will. Why not? They'll bear it for all.
Across the board.
Oh, yeah.
That's how it always works. Like, that, you know how Skippy proposes cutting the GST on homes under $1 million? Who do you think is going to take that extra 5%?
Right.
It won't be passed on to the consumer.
No. The warning sent the Canadian dollar diving nearly a cent at one point before it recovered somewhat. Such an import fee would incur untold economic damage, driving up costs for Canadian and Mexican goods in the most critical market. This all unfolded coincidentally as Canadian cabinet ministers were meeting to discuss U.S. relations, said a federal source. Of course, because why not, right? He loves to just lob a grenade into a proceeding. That's his thing. That's what he does. The news that's why we can't. We got to take him seriously, but we can't panic because this is just the shit he does. He likes to destabilize and have you disconcerted and discombobulated, so that you get to a panic and that you give away more than you would have normally if you just remained calm.
He'll blame poor people and immigrants.
Yeah. So the news, of course, prompted a flurry of late-night evening phone calls between the Prime Minister and Trump, and between Trudeau and several provincial premiers in an effort to diffuse the danger to Canada's economy. Quote, it was a good discussion and they will stay in touch, a Canadian official said of the Trudeau-Trump call. The Prime Minister also spoke with the premiers of Ontario and Quebec. By the way, just a little note that Doug Ford and Danielle Smith, who just a couple of days ago were all like, yeah, Prime Minister, you got to cut Mexico out and like have this one-on-one deal. Now, I believe the tune is, oh yes, from Marco Vigliotti of iPolitics. Premiers want urgent First Ministers meeting to discuss plan to deal with Trump administration. Daddy Justin, do something. He's going to tariff my oil.
Well, I have an article here for you I want to share. This is from the Calgary Herald. Alberta's most provocative anti-Ottawa action coming Tuesday to block emissions cap. Government says the motion will make it virtually impossible for Ottawa to impose the cap in Alberta. The Premier will announce details of a Sovereignty Act motion at a news conference. Government sources say the motion will make it virtually impossible for Ottawa to impose the cap in Alberta. The motion is said to allow increased production as well as easier access to U.S. and world markets. Not sure how that's going to work out.
Probably as well as Scott Moe's no, you don't have to pay the carbon fee and we don't have to give it back to the federal government in any way, shape, or form thing worked out for him. I'm gonna guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's going on with the tariffs, and of course, like I said, deadbeat Danny and Doug Ford. Oh my God, he's going to tax all our cars 25%. Like this. Now all of a sudden, one, we need to come with this. Oh, so now you don't want to lead the charge, do you? Anymore? Now, Prime Minister, let's all get together and discuss it because, yeah, you both. The expression is chin up, ass out. And Donald Trump just gave you a punch on your glass jaws.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
You stupid, dumb fathermuckers. Team Canada approach, man. You resolve this stuff behind closed doors and you come up with one position. You don't start trying to pressure the Prime Minister to release the trap door under an ally.
We're not dealing
Come on, man.
Surgeons here, man.
Where the hell are the grown-ups in the room? So, Canada's premiers are requesting a First Minister's meeting as soon as possible to discuss how to best approach the incoming Trump administration south of the border. The premier said they want to know how Prime Minister Trudeau will work with them. No, boo-boo kitties. Nation to nation, leader to leader. It's how you will work with him. How you will work with him. Okay? On the coming review of the Continental Free Trade Deal. You guys are not negotiating the deal.
Doesn't work that way.
Whoever the government of Canada is, whoever's representing the government of Canada is, will be negotiating the deal. You work with them. Quote, as we look to welcome the incoming U.S. administration, it is important that we act now to work together and seize this opportunity to grow and strengthen our historic partnership with the U.S. We look forward to hearing from you shortly on timing of a First Minister's meeting, read a letter from Ontario Premier Doug Ford, who is servicing as chair of the Council of the Federation, which is made up of all provincial and territorial leaders. Don't worry, Doug. If you've been paying attention to the news, everybody on the federal government has started the Team Canada thing. Months ago, actually. They had been going to the United States, having meetings with senators, state senators, and state house representatives in states, where we had specific high levels of trade on certain things, just in case something might happen. And now that it has happened, all the structures that we had are being reformed, and all of you guys are saying, oh, that's so stupid, that's so weak, it didn't work. Well, it worked pretty damn well last time. Yes, we're going to have to adapt for a new era, but it worked pretty well last time. So, and now you're turning around and saying, oh my God, you got it. No, they're way ahead of you, darlings. They're way ahead of you, darlings. They've started this a while ago. You're a little late to the party. You're not leading this parade here. President-elect Donald Trump has vowed to overhaul the Canada-United States-Mexico Trade Pact. Remember, Kits and Cups, as we mentioned, this negotiation is supposed to be just a review, like not a full revision of the whole thing. The full review is, he said Trump keeps on trying to present it that it's a full review that's planned for 2026. It's not a full review. It's a little bit of a revision of the last review we did to see if there's going to make any adjustments. And then once we agree on that, that's the deal that's supposed to be in place for the next 16 years. 2026 is not legally supposed to be a full review. The United States is going to try to turn it into one, but it is not. And Canada and Mexico don't have to play ball, which is why we're getting the tariffs. Because Trump likes to do that. Put the squeeze on you before negotiations start so that you come in there more compliant, more pliable. We know that's the game. So the point is to ride over this part and then get to the negotiations and say, okay, we're here to... That was nice and entertaining. Now let's talk.
Mm-hmm.
And not, oh my God, you hurt us so bad. What do you want? Just don't touch this little piece. Let us keep this little piece. You can have everything else. But don't touch my oil. And don't touch my car exports. Go after the indigenous. Yeah. Go after aerospace. Go after softwood. But don't touch my oil. Don't touch my cars. My manufacturing. I need that. And come on, Ford, Smith, it's Donald Trump. Even if in this round he decided not to touch your oil and touch your cars, in the millisecond he needs a distraction or you get his attention in the wrong way, he slaps something and he comes after the rest. You're not going to keep it for... Know who you're frickin' dealing with. If you go into a negotiation ready to surrender everything except for the one little corner that you want to keep your hands on no matter what, you're going to lose that too.
Mm-hmm.
That's just dumb. So, in a statement, the Prime Minister's office said Trudeau has received the letter and worked together with the provinces and territories on cross-border issues, but he did not directly answer the Prime Minister's office, did not directly answer whether a First Minister's meeting would be held. Quote, building on our Team Canada approach, our government is committed to working collaboratively with provinces and territories to promote shared priorities between Canada and the United States on trade, investment, and continental peace and security. And we know that's true because in previous negotiations, sometimes they brought a premier in now and then when they needed them. Right? So there's no reason to suspect that the government of Canada's approach is going to change unless there's something material on the other side that requires us to make an adjustment on this. So there's no reason for which the Prime Minister would suddenly not invite certain premiers or consult them at certain time. It would be a stupid way to do the damn job. Right? So the no fraternization with people from other parties rule doesn't come from the liberal side of the political spectrum. I'm just saying. Ford said it was in Ontario's best interest for Canada to, we're going to screw that part because that's already bullshit. But let's remember, Kits and Cubs, this is a fact that doesn't get mentioned a lot, but Canada's biggest trade partner is the United States. Canada's second largest trading partner is China, but our third largest trading partner is Mexico.
That's correct.
With about $30 billion of trade per year and growing relatively quickly. With this,
and I think in Mexico they've just offered 10 to 15-year mortgages with a lower interest rate, and post-secondary education is now covered by the state.
Yep.
So that's just going to enhance their country. It's going to make them better.
Yeah.
More people will own homes, number one. Number two, more people will get a post-secondary education. And you know what that does? It creates more wealth.
Probably by the end of the next 10 years, Mexico's economy is going to be larger than ours just by the sheer number of people.
180 million people. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I mean, we're
So-
just under 42 million, and we're not going to
Yeah.
hit 180 million anytime soon.
Yeah. So, look, having good ends with two democratic countries, hopefully remaining democratic countries that are larger than us, with growing populations, and one of them, Mexico, an emerging nation that is growing quickly, is a really, really good place to be.
Mm-hmm.
Assuming that the United States remains the United States like. But overall, because if we can weather the storm, if the storm is weatherable as well, this is not a bad position to be in, especially with the increase. I think you're the one that presented the story a little bit yesterday, Mr. Grizzly, saying that we needed to. There was somebody in the U.S. or that was saying that we needed to prepare for more of a global sort of war.
And it was a NATO official,
Yes.
a NATO general from Belgium.
From Belgium. And I read the article on this, and he's not saying prepare for World War III as in we're arm yourself to the teeth. But he's saying that because of supply chains and all this kind of stuff, right? There could be war is no longer just guns and boom, boom. Right? It's blockades and tariffs and all that that's all part of it. So if you've been hearing terms in the news like onshoring and friendshoring, right? There are businesses that are leaving China and that are establishing themselves in Indonesia or Vietnam or the Philippines. It's because they want a more stable relationship with the United States, or they're being given money from the United States to help relocate, so that if China decides no more, you still have access to either microchips or something or whatever. So there's an effort strategically to bring things like, for example, production of medicines, production of vaccines, or more onto you're either into your own country if you're big enough, like the United States, or into your network of countries, like, for example, the free trade zone in North America. Because if we can't bring it to Canada, well, if Mexico can bring it and we're friends with Mexico, well, it's friendshored. We can get it from Mexico instead of having to get it from Afghanistan or China or wherever, Syria. So there is these strategic chess pieces being moved, and this is what what he's talking about specifically. Of course, he's still talking about, you still have to do the military defense stuff, but it's in terms of those things that are very vital for your society to work, that you really need: semiconductors, medicines, vaccines, like this, that you're able to produce that either among your network of allies or within your own country, rather than full-out globalism. Any nation will do if you can do it at the best price and deliver with good quality. Right? We might be moving away from that a little bit, or at least need to prepare in case that type of shift happens fast, because that's a bad way to get caught with your pants around your ankles, and when that happens, that leads to a lot of civil unrest within a nation. So, but like I said, the world is changing. And we got to be eyes wide open and prepare, but still not panic. Because if you're making decisions in a state of panic, you're probably making decisions that you haven't completely fully thought through yet.
Can we address something here?
Sure thing.
There's a lot of... Oh, I'm just going to put this on the screen. Does Elon Musk think illegal drugs are subject to tariffs?
Is that actually Elon Musk's account for real?
Apparently, yes. Apparently.
Okay, for those who are listening, apparently there's a tweet apparently from Elon Musk, I'm not sure. This is an account that says the price of fentanyl will rise sharply.
Breaking, Trump will sign an immediate executive order on January 20th to charge China an additional 10% tariff on all their products entering the United States. So illegal fentanyl are subject to tariffs.
No.
Please tell me that's not real.
Yes, no. I hope that's not real. You will also notice
by Jack Smith.
Yes. Yeah. You will also notice that in this trade war here thing, that China is only getting slapped with an extra 10%, but it's 25% for Canada and Mexico, which
Correct.
gives a little more credence that this is, I'm going to put the squeeze on you because we got a negotiation coming up. Because, I mean, he's not. This is not the first time that he has done this with us. I believe that last time he was president, he did it on steel and aluminum before, right before we were going to enter into the NAFTA 2 negotiations as well. So this is a play that he's tried before. We're ready for it. We know it. In response to Trump's announcement, a representative from the Chinese embassy said, quote, "No one will win in a trade war." And China is protesting that they have already taken steps to curb fentanyl with an agreement it had established with the Biden administration just last year. Trump's nominee for Treasury Secretary basically said on the day after Trump won the election, but this was before he was the secretary, his line was that I would recommend that the tariffs be layered in gradually. The price adjustment would be over a period of time rather than all in one shot. I'm not sure if he's going to have to change that line now that he is working for Trump. But we will see, but it seems that his first natural inclination would be to layer in tariffs gradually. So if he's allowed to do that, and while Trump talks tough about putting 25% on, and the American public doesn't ask whether or not he actually did put 25% on day one, all in one shot, remains to be seen. So yeah, it's like I said, it's just going to be bumpy. That's the way the guy below us likes it. Like I said, and I don't want to say we're all living in his world, but life is going to be like a rodeo, essentially. We grab and we try to hold on for 8 seconds and not fall off.
Basically, yeah.
With this guy. And every morning it's going to be, okay, what now? What is it today?
That's what it was like during his first 4 years. I'd wake up, I'd turn on the Twitter machine and take a look and go, okay, what's happened?
Yes, what are we dealing with today?
Yeah,
What
it's going
mood
to
is
be
he
one
in
thing
now?
after another, every day for the next. We should believe 4 years, but somehow I think it's just he's just we've got all the votes, we've taken care of it. Vote this time, you don't have to do it again. He's been made a king by the Supreme Court, so you know damn well.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, a couple of little things before we go, unless you have something, Mr. Grizzly.
I have a clip I want to share with you, except if I do, we're going to get tagged on the music.
Oh.
Which means I could just cut it out later, which I do all the time. It just erases the music. So I'm going to show you this because it's really good.
Okay.
It's really good. And just before I do, I got to show you the. Where is it? Hang on. Okay, there it is. Yeah. Okay, here. I'll share this with you and just enjoy it for what it is.
In the Canadian Parliament, the people are represented by elected officials and party leaders. Responsible party leaders get their security clearances. One leader refuses. What is he hiding? These are their stories.
So I'll have to taste the music from that later, which I can do.
I think you might be okay because that's parody, which is fair use. I think you might be okay.
We'll see.
You might.
I mean, either way, the voiceover part at the beginning will remain. If I have to pull the music gets pulled, and that's it. It just erases the music.
Okay. For those who are listening at home, in case it does happen, it was basically, and the music doesn't play. It's basically the music from Law and Order, and it was a clip of the opening credits with everybody, like with Justin Trudeau, security cleared, and everybody else security cleared. Yves François Blanchet, autorisation de sécurité.
I like that they put that in French.
I laughed so hard.
Yeah.
Like this, and then the absolute worst possible photo of Pierre Poilievre, the one with like the whole bags and jowly thing there that was taken a few weeks ago, and says refuses to get a security clearance. Okay. Did you have another one? I thought I had the impression you had two things.
Well, there is another one, but I'll put it on the screen. I don't know who this person is, but this is what he's put on the screen. It's a map of an individual, Gad Sad. Dear real Donald Trump, on behalf of Canadians, might I kindly ask you to invade Canada to free us from the degenerate tyranny of Justin Trudeau? It shouldn't require more than 10 to 15 soldiers to do so, because in Canada we adhere to an inclusive ethos for our military. Thank you. And from Roddy, it's like, go fuck yourself. Like, I mean, really? Really? Apparently he's a professor at Concordia. So if that's supposed to be a joke, it's not funny. He was born in Lebanon and fled with his family in October 1975 to Montreal to escape the Lebanese Civil War. Once born in Canada, where he and his family have been safe and prospered. Maybe he's just trolling to become another university martyr like his BFF, Jordo. That could be.
Jeez. My God. People.
Yeah.
Ugh. God. I'm so, really? If this is real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if it's real.
You're probably not listening, but sir.
What?
Sir, if you truly, truly, truly believe, if this is like an honest feeling that you have, like this, that Canada is so terrible that we need to be liberated. It's like, you do realize that things are still not yet so bad, that your constitutionally guaranteed right of mobility to emigrate to another nation in which you would be way happier is completely unobstructed and unfettered. Instead of asking for an entire country to come in and quote unquote liberate us with all the death and destruction that brings, just to make you happy, why don't you just fucking pack a suitcase and move? Really? Why do you need to fuck it up, pardon my language, for 40 other million of us just because you're unhappy? Move!
Yeah, you can move.
There are plenty other nations that are more ideologically aligned with where you are. Move!
Oh,
just move. It takes way less effort and disturbs way fewer people. Just move.
Yeah. I have one final clip for you, and this has got to do with the tariffs. I'll share this because this is for, this is what you voted for, America.
How much more expensive these goods could be under Trump's tariffs. Laptops and tablets, 46%. Video game consoles, 40%. Smartphones, 26%. Clothing, 20.6%. Toys, 55.8%. Furniture, 9.5%. Household appliances, 31%. Footwear, 28.8%. Travel goods, 21.5%. Here's how much more expensive.
That's, yeah.
Jeez. Oh, My God, forgot to mention the most important thing before we go. It's election day in Nova Scotia.
Oh, yeah.
It's what I was going to start with. But you had given me an opening to go somewhere else, and I took it. But yes, it's election day in Nova Scotia. Mention it like it's like, oh yeah, by the way. No, it's not by the way. It's technically it's supposed to be our number one story today, but it is election day in Nova Scotia. Provincial Premier Tim Houston called the snap election last month, sending voters to the polls 8 months earlier than expected. Basically, he's been saying, my plan is working, I just need more time, said Houston, who didn't have much new to present in terms of a campaign. It was pretty much just stay the course. Now, since we were talking about Law and Order, I just want to mention in passing that I've watched enough Law and Order to know that my plan is working. I just need more time is exactly the same line that people with whom they invest their money, who do funny things with the money, keep telling their clients. Your money's fine. I just need a little more time. That's not comforting, Mr. Houston. But it seems that my speculation of yesterday that lower advanced polling turnout would be an indication that maybe it looked like a foregone conclusion for him. And that seems to be the case from the time it started. He seemed to be well in the lead. Nothing seemed to has changed that, despite an extremely lackluster campaign from him. I mean, when we were showing the debate, he really looked like he was just annoyed that he had to be there in the first place. But apparently there's something called a supermajority. I had no idea.
The Westminster system. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in our system.
Apparently it does, it would seem.
In somebody's imagination, maybe.
No. Let's CBC. Taryn Grant. This is something I did not know. I'm learning civics here. As Nova Scotia's election campaign comes to a close, polls suggest the Progressive Conservatives will not only stay in power for a second term, but gain power by moving from a majority to a supermajority. The difference is potentially significant. In Nova Scotia, a supermajority holds 2/3 of the seats under the current makeup of the House Assembly. That means 37 out of 55. 2/3 is also the fraction required to change the procedural rules of the House. So with a supermajority, the government doesn't need the cooperation of opposition parties at all. There are dozens of these rules, and they range from a requirement to hold a daily moment of quiet reflection before starting the House business to parameters around who can speak during debate and for how long. There is a modest tradition of Nova Scotia of opposition parties using House procedures as tools to express dissent, extend debate, and slow the passage of legislation. It's one of the only levers available to opposition parties to control the House when there's a majority government that is largely unfettered in its ability to turn bills into law. For example, last fall, opposition leader and NDP MLAs regularly took the full hour allotted to them to speak during the debate and called for recorded votes, initiating the ringing of bells to alert members. The bells suspend all House business and they can ring for up to an hour. The opposition party said they were doing it because they believed Tim Houston's PC government was trying to push through legislation and wrap up the sitting too quickly. It became a game for tit for tat as the government extended House hours. Customary hours are 1 p.m. to 6 p.m., but Tory House leader Kim Maslin called for business to run from 1 p.m. to 11:59 p.m. The same rules apply for standing committees. A supermajority could change a committee's mandate and who sits on it, or it could get rid of a committee entirely. It could also create new ones. The PCs were ahead in public opinion polls at the start of the campaign and seem to have maintained that position over the past month. They may have even picked up steam. How? One of the latest polls released last week by NQO Research found 51% out of a sample of 500 voters have decided to vote for the Progressive Conservatives or are leaning that way, followed by 24% for the NDP and 22% for the Liberals. NQO's results came from a mix of online and telephone interviews conducted from November 14th to the 20th. Laurie Turnbull, a political science professor at Dalhousie University, said she thinks the polls are correct in predicting a PC majority. The real question, she said, is who will come second and form the official opposition, the NDP or the Liberals. Turnbull said one of the challenges in this campaign is that all three parties have focused on the same issues: housing, healthcare, and affordability. And it seems that for some reason, all three parties really agree that nobody should have to pay for parking when they go to the hospital.
Yes.
For some reason. On some issues, they're even making the same or similar promises. For instance, on tax cuts, Liberals have promised to cut HST by 2 points, while the PCs have promised to cut it by 1, and they have both promised to raise the basic personal exemption on income tax. People are saying, the experts are saying that the polls should be considered with some caution, saying that polls typically look at the overall vote and not individual ridings. Additionally, a danger poll results that indicate a runaway victory is that they could dampen voter turnout, of course, as people expect their vote to be irrelevant. Fatigue from the recent municipal election and from observing the American presidential election could also add to voter apathy, as well as the fact that Houston called the election 8 months earlier than it was expected. If one of the headlines the day after the election is historically low turnout in this Nova Scotia election, I wouldn't be surprised. I hope not, but I wouldn't be surprised, said Aaron Kandel, who's a professor at Acadia University's politics department. So there, kids and cubs, if you are still undecided, our Nova Scotia kittens and cubs, and you haven't cast your vote yet, go on YouTube and take a moment to check out Steve Boots' What the Hell Canada election special on Nova Scotia. All of his election specials, because he's had 4 of them to do over the last little bit, have been absolutely excellent. He always does quality work. I'm a big fan of his work. But I learned a few things, and it seems that did you know that Tim Houston was named in the Panama Papers, Mr. Grizzly?
I did not know that.
Yes, apparently. Yes, apparently from 1997 or something like that to 2000 or 1987, 2002, for a pretty long time, he actually worked in the Bahamas, because Tim Houston's an accountant, and for 4 or 5 different entities related to a company called Interocean. Apparently, he was the person that was doing the work for them on that. He says that his work had nothing to do with taxes and stuff. But I mean, if you're in Bermuda and you're an accountant, I'm not saying his work had anything to do with taxes, but I think I would need a little more than just your say-so.
I'm going to lean into that and go, yes. Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Maybe. But yes, the other thing, of course, as we mentioned, the Coastal Protection Act, the reason why it was such a big thing in the debate is that it seems that he came in and largely wiped it out and replaced it with a series of regulations that, while they do cover a greater area, don't do anywhere near as much. And that's why that has been a big issue. It seems that his big thing, Pierre Poilievre has bring it home. His is make it happen. It seems that building 11 new schools is pretty much the entirety of his education plan.
Make it happen in the construction industry, I'll tell you this right now, is don't tell me how you did it, just make it happen. Do it. Which means I don't want to know how it was put together. Make it work. And we used to hear, I don't care, just make it happen. We get that all the time. Just make it happen. So it's like, in other words, if you have to cut corners safety regulation-wise to make things happen, that's what you do. If you have to do things that you know are in violation of the Ministry of Safety, just Ministry of Labor and Health and Safety, just go ahead and do it. We'll look the other way just to make it happen. So when somebody says their logo, their motto is make it happen, I would say approach that with extreme caution.
Yeah. Yep. It seems that the other thing is also with all the parties that have, depending on the various levels of costing that they've presented, it seems that Tim Houston, the Conservative, showed his costing to media and journalists or whatnot, but not to people. No, our thing is costed, believe me. But apparently he didn't feel that the people needed to see his costed plan for some reason. But none of the plans, costed or not, now have something to deal with if you're making a decision. All the parties now have to deal with the HST cut, right, for the next 2 months. because that is going to take place in any province that has a harmonized one. It's the whole 13% that comes off, not just the GST portion based on the federal plan. So all of them now have to deal with a budget that has $250,000 whole just added to it. So as you're going to vote, you might want to ask yourself, which is the party that you would like to manage that new whole for all intents and purposes. For Zach Churchill, one of the reasons he may not be as popular as people would have liked him to be is that when he was Minister of Education, it seems that he eliminated the school boards and centralized control of education within the Ministry of Education while creating a provincial advisory council of educators to bring in regional input. He also split up the teachers union by moving principals, vice principals, and senior staff out of the teacher union and into their own. Both moves were deeply unpopular, and therefore people might not have been willing to trust him as much as leader of the party, unfortunately. So that may have been his big stumbling block in terms of being publicly acceptable. With regard to the NDP leader, Claudia Chender, it seems that the most controversial thing in her background is that she called out Churchill when he was, not Churchill, the current Minister of Education, for stating that all schools had a food program when that was actually not the case. And she wouldn't take it back because why would she? Because she was telling the truth. And that's basically the biggest scandal in her career. She said something that was true that someone wanted her to take back, and she said no, because it's true. Not bad. And she has a really, the NDP does have a very good healthcare plan, according to Steve, when he was analyzing it, said it's probably the crown jewel in their entire platform, that they have a lot of elements, such as a refundable income tax credit for caregiving of $1,400, bringing in free contraceptives and eliminating pharmacare premiums for seniors, waive the deductibles that families pay for prescription drugs and devices covered by family pharmacare, wanting to make PrEP, pre-exposure prophylaxis, in case of needle pricks, pre-exposure prophylaxis, sorry. That's before sexual relationships and stuff like that, to prevent the transmission of HIV and AIDS, wants to make that free, which would be, if that did put it in, would save a lot of money, because it costs a lot to treat someone. It costs a whole lot less to treat a lot of people with PrEP than it does to treat one person for HIV. That's for sure. And a promise to cover the cost of home cancer drugs through pharmacare, and a civilian-led response team for mental health crises that can be delivered via 911. So lots of good stuff there as well. And trying to reduce what is the longest wait times for medically necessary care in the country, which is in Nova Scotia, and it stands at 56.7 weeks. 56.7 weeks to get medically necessary care in Nova Scotia. And this from the guy who ran the last time entirely on, I'm going to fix healthcare, who's saying, my plan's working, I just need more time. 56.7 weeks. Okay. The last thing, the candidate whose last name is Jakeman, who got booted from the party for making controversial comments related, I think, to the Jewish community, is still running as an independent. There. So there you go. All right. That's all I have for today. Mr. Grizzly, do we have a show?
With the mention of one other thing here.
Okay.
Premier Doug Ford's government is on the defensive after rejecting an NDP motion to declare an epidemic in intimate partner violence after 58 women in Ontario died from it last year. He can pull out bike lanes for $48 million, but, protect women? No.
Yes. Yeah. Yesterday was the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. And the UN had put out a report that said that every 10 minutes a woman was killed last year by a family member or an intimate partner. According to the United Nations report on global femicide, the most dangerous place for a woman to be is in her own home. 85,000 killings occurred last year. Of those, 60%, or about 140 per day, were at the hands of someone close to the victim. In Europe and the in the Americas, most women and girls were killed by intimate partners. Elsewhere, it's close relatives that were the primary perpetrators. From 2009 to 2022, the most recent data available from Statistics Canada, around 1,200 people were killed by their intimate partner. Most were women. At Queen's Park, a group of MPPs were pushing Doug Ford's government to declare intimate partner violence an epidemic, which would make it easier for the victims when they had to appear in court. Quote, "This is not a symbolic declaration. What we see is that victims who come before the court system are being asked to explain why it is that intimate partner violence and domestic violence are relevant, important, and pertinent for the court's consideration. Premier Ford has promised to pass this bill, but the bill has languished for over a year." Quote from Doug Ford, "Take it what it's worth. We're 100% behind making sure there's zero violence against women. I have 4 daughters, and anyone ever touch my daughters, it would be the worst day of their lives." MPP Jill Andrew, who was a victim of childhood abuse, took exception to Doug Ford's comment in framing it that way. Quote, "This is larger than Doug Ford's family. This is about the thousands of women and children across Ontario who don't have a member of provincial parliament or a premier as a dad." Samir Ahmed, a lawyer for Justice for Children in the Youth Legal Clinic, says that these findings come as women around the world held protests to mark the United Nations 25th International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. So, yes, thank you for bringing that up, Mr. Grizzly. I had it in my notes, but I had unfortunately bypassed it by accident. Another little bit of good news that you'll want to know, Kits and Cubs, the Canada Post union workers have come out to publicly state that letters to Santa this year will still be able to go ahead despite the Canada Post union worker strike. People have been concerned because I think the last time there was a strike, it lasted quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
Quite a while. So there are volunteers that will make sure that Santa does indeed get his mail and is able to respond. However, for gifts that Santa might be sending, they can't make the equal guarantee. But your letters will get there. All right, Kids and Cubs. So, and kitties of kids of Kits and Cubs. Santa will be receiving your letters. So please write them. Remember, postal code HO.
Ho, ho, ho.
Santa Claus, North Pole, Canada. Ho, ho, ho. All right. Do we have Mr. Grizzly?
Well, I've got 2 housing-related things, compare and contrast, if you will. Here in Ontario, a proposal to make landlord and tenant board orders accessible to consumer credit bureaus for tenants with a history of rent arrears would make it easier to weed out bad prospective renters, London, Ontario landlords say. Renters advocacy groups worry it could hurt low-income tenants who fall behind by damaging their credit scores and unfairly penalize tenants who withheld rent for negligent maintenance or other issues. So once again, the province is going to punch down on those who cannot punch back. Yet, compare and contrast to an article from 5 years ago. It's a miracle. Helsinki's radical solution to homelessness. Finland is the only EU country where homelessness is falling. Its secret, giving people's homes as soon as they need them, unconditionally. And I'll put the link to that article in the chat because it's worth your time to read. We don't have time to go over it right now, but it's worth your time to read. Basically, they've solved homelessness. We know how to do this, folks. Finland has given us the method to do this. We can fix homelessness in this country. We choose not to because we can turn more profit by having people suffering. A few people can turn more profit, but most of us suffer as a result. Here we are.
Yeah. All right, Kids and Cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, word of mouth is priceless and sharing is caring, and you have the mouths from which we want the word to come. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We really appreciate it when you do. Now, if you would like to support us by, for example, not wanting to miss an episode, you don't have to, because the Ray Girl has sponsored our pod page, podpage.com/the True North Eager Beaver, lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words. Or if you scan that QR code and go there, click subscribe. When we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it comes directly to you. Now, if you would like to support us in other ways, like, for example, going to our True North Eager Beaver YouTube media page, like Kit Elaine does every day, and smashing our buttons, that helps us a lot. Like, share, and subscribe are right there. Please click them. Makes us happy when you do. Now, the QR code that's by Mr. Grizzly's head will bring you to our coffee page, where we have our tip jar. So if you like what we do and you would like to encourage us to do more, we would definitely appreciate the support. If we are going on our own next year, we will be having additional costs, like, for example, subscribing to Restream and whatnot. So anything that you can contribute to help us prepare for the coming year, if we are indeed on our own, would certainly be appreciated. And we thank you very much for all that you do to be able to help us. That's coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, lowercase letters, all in one word. And if you make a little contribution there, trust us, everything goes back into the show. We really appreciate your continued support. We're nothing without you. And as you know, Kits and Cubs, we are entirely funded by you, and or self-funded, or ad revenue from YouTube and that type of stuff. But we have no advertising revenue. We have no government subsidies from that. So, it's just us making a little corner on the web where we can share some news and have some community. And a lot of that is because the work that you're doing and your ability to help us cover our costs that we took on when we did this. So we really appreciate everything. Trust it.
Our costs are about to increase as well, because we have to set up new accounts with existing services to keep bringing this to you, and it will cost us a lot more money. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit of difficult ahead of us. I'm not going to lie. Our costs are rising.
We'll get through it. I mean, this is sudden costs. There were costs that we had that were covered by the network from us being on the network that we didn't have to cover. But now, if we are going independent, we will have to do that, which might be another reason to try and find other shows to collaborate with. So we might be able to split those costs co-op style and make it more affordable for all of us to keep on doing what we're doing. But we'll try to find some solutions, Kits and Cubs, and we no matter what, we will make it through. We had to finance ourselves for the first 11 months when we started, and we did have some tips coming in then, but it was a financially losing proposition for the first 2 or 3 years. So that's fine. It's a labor of love, no matter what. But every drop counts, and it helps. So we appreciate all your support. Now, if you're not able to support us financially, please do not worry, because we'll still be here regardless, right? But the gift of your presence and attention is what matters. We want you to still be here. That's what matters to us. So we like to hear from you. TrueNorthEagerBeaver@gmail.com is our email address. You can find us at Blue Sky or on Twitter at True Eager, our Facebook page, True North Eager Beaver, or if you're listening on YouTube, just down here on the comment section, leave us a little something. We do read everything, and we thank you so much for your input. All right, let's see, because democracy is something that you do. Nova Scotians, please go vote today. Don't make it a low turnout election. Right?
Please.
Go express your opinion. Because even if you think it's a foregone conclusion, do go express your opinion, because it does send a message. It's important. Right? If you are in Langley, Cloverdale City, you have a by-election coming up December 16th. Provincially, in Lethbridge West, you have a by-election coming up as well. Please do what you need to do to get the information on your candidates. And if there's an opportunity to volunteer to help on election day, please do so, or to help with one of your candidates. Kits and Cubs, it could be a tough world out there. So please be kind to and gentle with yourself. Mr. Grizzly, do you have some words of wisdom for us?
Really, the only thing I can say this morning is people, friends in Nova Scotia, family, get out, vote, cast your ballot. I don't care who you vote for. Well, we hope you do the right thing and vote for a progressive party, whomever you feel is the most progressive in your province. But just vote. Just vote. Just vote. Please vote.
If you missed it, vote.
Yeah, please.
Grizzly, please cue the cock. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors. The Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community. And The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music.
I got a little tidbit for you just
All
before
right.
we go. You know, Doug
Sure
Ford's
thing.
proposed tunnel under the 401. Didn't come up with
Mhm.
that on his own. That was suggested by Aecon in 2019,
Mm.
which is a large construction firm. And in 2015, Aecon suggested tunneling under the Gardiner and then tearing the Gardiner down so they'd have like a Ville Marie tunnel like they do in downtown Montreal. Just thought I'd throw that in there.
Okay. Mr. Grizzly, is my audio still good?
Yep.
Okay. I wanted to read a little something before we go because I think it's something I've been trying to convey as a sentiment, but this person put it into words way more eloquently than I could. And it's kind of the vibe I'm going for. And it's sort of like my words of wisdom in a way, but it's going to come through this person. A lot of people are feeling all kinds of things because the grounds are shifting under our feet pretty damn quickly these days. And this guy here, Paul Daly, this is in The Guardian, writes an opinion piece. Now is the time to unplug and reset. Next year we enter a more dangerous world, but for now, I need the silence of nature. A long walk in the mountains last weekend brought sudden perspective to just how heavily the shoutiness and anger was weighing. Suddenly there was only birdsong, the rustling tree canopies, the gentle burbling of the snowy river, and the wind whispering through the trunks of ancient ghost gums. This was anything but quietness. But it was the sound of a serenity that only nature can gift, a noise of extreme unpluggedness, if you like. In recent years, probably since the pandemic lockdowns, I've been a big advocate of walking with my own silence. That is, while being unconnected to the cyberspace. So, no news or music, even audiobooks or phone calls. My rhythmic breath and the dogs panting a beat along with their padding paws beside me, the cawing gulls, and of course, the sounds of my environment, aircraft, ferry horns, traffic, people talking. It is an urban soundtrack of never pristine silence, but in it I could always salvage catharsis, an elusive calm, a restorative balm for an occasionally anxious mind that is easily drawn to the pain of others, of which, distressingly, there's no global shortfall. This was intensive thinking time. Sometimes it was even non-thinking time. I often found I could walk for an hour and a half in a state of tuned-out meditative stasis, reaching home with a sense of emotional and creative renewal, after which I'd sometimes have to remind myself of the route taken. This was a good thing. And so, I'd stuck to this pattern of walking offline for a few years, but something changed in late June. It was in a hotel room while on holiday in Arizona that we watched the first presidential election debate. Until then, I'd not been following United States presidential politics too closely, despite the magnitude of its implications. But watching the calamitous performance of the incumbent, it was as if I was immediately rewired into a state of cyber hypervigilance. This, I know, happened to many others too. There were never enough podcasts or polls or hot takes or news breaks or predictions. My concentration for anything else was all but shredded. I found myself reading foreign news sites at 3 a.m., sieving through the murk of punditry for shards of hope America would not teeter into fascism, vengeance, and chaos embodied by 45th and now soon to be the sworn-in 47th president, and foreshadowed no more presciently than on January 6th, 2021. The recent November 5th presidential election and its aftermath still seems like the most consequential in recent global history, and certainly of my life, and that of my children and grandchildren. Across the world, the political and social right, including in Australia, is high-fiving, of course, emboldened by the domestic possibilities of drawing from and transplanting elements of the politics of hate and derision. Meanwhile, long-standing authoritarian fascists, none more so than in Russia, whose dictator must delight in watching the next U.S. presidency do the Kremlin's work for it by voraciously eating its country's once revered democratic institutions from the inside, while nurturing oligarchy, public-private conflicts, and potential kleptocracy, must smirk with the irony of it all. The election has been done and dusted for a few weeks, but up until last weekend, I was still binging on pods, tuning in to the Democratic Party recriminations, and not least trying to reconcile Kamala's assurance that it's going to be okay with her wholly credible campaign message the would-be 47th president was a madman existential threat to democracy. And then, last Saturday, I disconnected in the mountains. A few hours with the shoutiness and the anger and the triumphalism. A few hours without, the shoutiness and the anger and the triumphalism. This was the reset I needed. Autocracy and its twin of subverted democracy blossom amid silence and exhausted, depleted opposition. So I'm not by any means proposing a permanent zone out or to turn my back on informed knowledge about how it might impact globally and domestically. What has just happened in the US will have profound implications for Australia in a forthcoming election year on everything from the tone of political discourse to foreign affairs and defense, climate change, emissions targets, renewable energy, fossil fuels, and immigration, and the rights of minorities. The cultural political trolling embodied by the very foreshadowed appointment of the next US cabinet and the symbolism of reactionary, spiteful initiatives already vowed against the marginalized and how they might enable would-be replicants elsewhere demand extreme watchfulness. But effective vigilance also requires energy and strength, mental and emotional recharge and balance. Now, in the interregnum before January's inauguration, it is time to reset, to re-embrace the peace and quiet to be found in unpluggedness so that the oral wonders of life and nature might give strength against the bellicosity and anger of a vastly changed, ever more dangerous world.
Okay.
Recharge. We're going to need you in January.
All righty.
All right. Have a great day.
See you later.